Hello and welcome to the Hidden Gifts of Loss podcast, where we explore how our losses have transformed us and made us stronger. And today, my guest is Trina Schmidt. And she is a business owner and entrepreneur who leads women to become conscious partners and relationship smart by discovering their true self with clarity, confidence, and conviction. She's a licensed therapist and life coach with decades of experience with client transformation. She was in a 12-year unhealthy marriage, not knowing herself, not knowing self love, settling for her needs, and pleasing others to the point of self sabotage, depression, and unhappiness. So relatable. She finally decided that enough is enough and started to take charge of her own happiness by identifying her needs and desires, which nobody had taught her. She learned about true self love, meditation, energy healing, and how to communicate with boundaries and more compassion for self and others. And as a therapist, she started noticing quick improvements in her clients' lives after teaching key strategies to achieving inner stillness, confidence, and self respect. Knowing and loving themselves lead to deep fulfillment and clarity in their relationships. So she is going to share some of the losses that led her to become somebody who empowers women. And I love that. That's so good. So welcome, Trina, and yay, let's jump in. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you, Julie. I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here and talk about life.
Yeah,
This is about
absolutely.
life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just love that you empower women. It's just so important. I think so many of those things we're just not given those tools or taught those things as women and as young girls. And yeah, like you were saying, if your parents don't have self-love, how can they teach you self-love? And wow, do I know what that's like and what that quest has been.
Our parents don't teach us this stuff. Society doesn't teach us this stuff. Our schools are not wired to meet emotional needs.
Um,
And we're all emotional bodies. We all have those 70,000 thoughts. And who's counting, by the way? I don't know who's counting, but that's what
right?
I read.
What is that? 70,000 thoughts a day?
Thoughts in a day. And who teaches us what to do about it, right?
Yeah,
Nobody teaches us.
nobody.
And
Mm-mm.
so very early on, I was on this quest of first finding the meaning of life. Like, why am I here? I looked
Mhm.
into space first and universe. I'm like, wow, it's like endless. There's like endless possibilities. I want to be an astronaut, the stars. I was just fascinated with the vastness of the universe.
Yes.
And then it became more about why am I not feeling happy today? And why do I feel deeply connected with some people and not other people? And what happens inside of myself? And
Mm.
it was just these big questions. And a lot of people just did not relate to that. They want to
Mhm.
stay on the surface. Trina, what are you talking about again? All this hocus pocus stuff.
Oh my God, I so relate. I was so like that too. I remember just like staring at the sky, laying in the grass as a
Yeah.
kid and just stare at the sky. And other people wanted to talk about TV shows.
Yes, yes. Why spend time on that? It was just not relevant. There's bigger things in life than that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, how did you begin to find answers to those questions within
Mm,
yourself and start that
yeah.
quest? It sounds like you started that quest very young.
I I did, I think. I was very intuitive as a child. I kind of knew answers before I knew them myself. But I didn't know what to use it for.
Mhm.
And my mom started her kind of alternative medicine journey in my teen years. I was a guinea pig of applied kinesiology and reflexology, and I started speaking this language of self-awareness with people around me, and they were just not there yet. So I had this weird guru mom who was kind of ahead of her time and talking about energy lines and
Yeah.
chakras and stuff like that, and people couldn't follow any of that, but it always had an interest in me and wanted to read all the books. So I started reading Louise Hay and understanding the positive affirmations, and then Wayne Dyer. And eventually, I think it just planted seeds as a teen. I had an opportunity to go abroad as an au pair to the US. I grew up in Denmark, was born and raised there.
Ooh.
And I never saw myself outside of Denmark. Let me just say that. I was
Ah,
always
yeah.
play it safe,
Uh-huh.
play by the rules, don't stir the pot, be the good girl, get good grades, do what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Although my intuition had told me something different, I could never see myself do what everybody else did.
Mhm.
I certainly didn't know I was going to end up in another country.
Whoa. Yeah. Wow. How did
Yes.
that happen? You just
Yeah,
took the
I,
opportunity?
my parents encouraged me. I was intrigued by it, but part of me was just terrified.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I can't do that. I'm not one of those people, right? We all
Yes.
can relate to that.
Yes.
And I don't know. I think just part of me just said, so I did. I ended up with a family who was rather abusive, verbally abusive, controlling, very uncomfortable. The kids were highly affected by that. And it was a time where I really started questioning a lot of stuff. I was far away from home. I lost my identity. I couldn't be who I was. And being in a circumstance we can't really control anything was really difficult. And I just overstretched myself, thought I could fix it, thought I could be the hero. I was not going to quit anything, right? Because I'm
Mm,
stubborn and persistent. And it was just difficult. So I think leaving the country, and I ended up finding love and marrying and was married for 12 years, I lost a part of myself.
mhm.
It was such a drastic change to move to another country and be in a culture and an environment that you're just not used to.
Yeah. Wow.
And I longed for home for such a long time.
Mm,
It's the safety, it's the what I knew, right? What I knew to be safe, what I knew to be comforting, just even things like food. I would dream about it at
oh,
night.
oh, wow. Oh,
And I felt lost and lonely.
yeah.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that journey of just losing a part of yourself, losing what you know, stepping into the unknown, but not really knowing how you piece it together because it does seem like part of you just is gone.
Mhm.
And I couldn't really be myself. I
Um,
couldn't express myself in another language.
mhm.
I didn't know how to use my humor, which is one of my, I think, biggest strength that I see myself, and I didn't know how to translate it. Every time I tried, people gave me the stare, like Trina, what I that must be a Danish joke. Yeah, that must be a Danish joke.
And you didn't even speak the language,
Not really. We
really.
taught English, but not to that level of actually assimilating and
Mhm.
understanding the culture and it really expressing yourself more eloquently and fluently. You just ended up withdrawing more because
Mhm.
it was hard to really express your thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. And then that makes you even more lonely because you're just alone with your thoughts and you can't get them out. And how long were you in this abusive au pair situation?
Oh, I stuck it out for a good 9 months or something like that. I
My
didn't think
God.
that would last, but I think it was the first time in my life where I really found some good coping skills in terms of finding people I felt safe with and
Mm,
finding connections. I found
mm,
continue my passion for volleyball. I found other au pairs and other families that I went to on the weekends and I
mm.
still found a way of showing up in it
Yeah.
with love for the children and still love for the family because I love them very much and I know
Mm,
they did the best they could.
mhm,
And I've done a lot of healing work on that since then because I used to have dreams about him, the father, over and over again until I actually ended up having very conclusive dreams of saying goodbye and forgiving him. And I
mm.
did a lot of forgiveness around it, really to get past that trauma.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm, mm. And then
So
you
it
got
didn't
married.
stick for me. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, so I got rescued out of that situation.
Okay. Okay. That's
Yes,
good.
which being rescued out of anything is not always a great thing, but I didn't know any better and I was in love
Mm,
and he was good for me. you meet the people that are intended for your growth and healing in that moment. And he showed up at the right time, and we had two beautiful children. I learned to integrate more, and it took a while after really doing a lot of learning about self-love, learning about healing, learning about managing my own thoughts, really like discovering ego was a huge aha moment for me. It's
Yeah.
like, you're really telling me that this voice that I've been feeding me my whole life is not really who I am? Like, it was
Oh,
just,
yeah, what a revelation. You're a therapist, so did you discover this while you were attending graduate school, or how did
yeah, I can't remember what happened first, but I would say it has been more my spiritual journey of listening to Wayne Dyer and Oprah and Dr. Shefali and all those amazing teachers out there that have taught me more about the mind
Mhm.
and the power of meditation and the power of stillness than graduate school, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I'm sure, yeah,
They
I get
don't
that.
teach us a lot of that stuff.
Mhm,
And that's why I am now building on to my therapist career
mhm,
because I think it has certain limitations, and really stepping into relationship coach and
mm,
more of a life coach in general
yeah,
to bring all the pieces together that I felt I was missing, both from my education, but also my own growth. Like, I consider myself the puzzle queen sometimes. And for people who know me, I am also a puzzle lover. I haven't done puzzles in a while, but me and my mom cannot leave a puzzle alone if it has a lot of pieces. Just get it
uh,
out. I like putting all the pieces together. I feel like I offer that for my clients too, and the people I work with is nobody has taught me how to put the pieces together.
mm, mhm,
Like, how do we get from this? What is stress and what is anxiety and what is loss and what is despair and where does it come from and how does it pass and why does it come back? And all of those questions I really struggle with.
mhm, mm,
And the
yes,
biggest part of that, I may be jumping around a little bit, but talking about home, when we talk about loss, I felt like I had lost home.
mm, yeah,
And I looked for home and I missed home and I was sick for home for such a long time
mm,
until I realized, and this may sound cliche, but I found home within me.
yeah, yeah, no, I mean, not cliche, because that's where it is.
I,
We're
I
all
just,
looking outside of ourselves, and we're not gonna find it.
another aha, right? I'm like,
Yes.
wow, like I am really happy with me. Like I am really loving me. I'm seeing me. I'm knowing what I want. I'm
Yeah,
allowing myself to be me. I'm allowing myself to be seen. I'm allowing myself to love myself when I look at myself and be myself around other people. And all of a sudden, this connection that we sometimes feel when we're deeply connected with someone else,
mhm,
like
yeah,
our parents, the people that create safety around us, right? That
mhm,
feeling of I'm home, I feel connected, I feel safe. All
yeah,
of a sudden, I recognized that I could create that feeling for myself, right?
anywhere,
I,
anywhere that
I,
you
I
are.
didn't have to eat a bag of candy or have my mom right next to me or have my best friend right there or have a partner validate me and tell me that I'm loved and I'm good enough. And after that, of really just leaning into that and recognizing I could be anywhere,
Mhm,
anywhere, and I feel home, I bring my home with me,
mm, mm.
was such a freedom.
Yeah, yes, that's so
Such a
inspiring. Yeah, and it's just so true. I mean, like you're finding your voice, right? You're just finding who you
yes,
are, and then you own it. Yeah, oh,
yes,
I just love that. And now you're able to show others how to do that. That's it's just so needed in the world. And talk to me about your process when you're working with a client. How do you take them from that place where you were missing home to where they know that home is inside them.
Mm. I've created a system that really walks them through kind of like A to Z, because there is a place where we need to recognize what we're creating every day. And what we're creating every day really stems from our past, but we're not delving into the past because the past has happened. But if we can recognize the patterns that show up, if we can awaken into whatever happens in the moment is really just a replica of something in the past, especially if we feel upset or feel a little out of alignment, it comes from somewhere else. And it's very easy to connect back again and align ourselves back again if we are aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
So this awareness I build on a lot in really recognizing what is an illusion, like what are these stories that we have been brought up with, and what is real. And what's real is that we're 100% in charge of our own thoughts and feelings. We're 100% in charge of what happens inside of us and how we choose to respond to situations. But what happened with a lot of women, especially, and those are the people I work with, is that we take on a lot, right? We overdo and we overplease, and we still have these tapes in our head that tells us that we're supposed to act a certain way or be a certain way. We're supposed to be as upset about certain things for a long period of time, or if people have not, quote unquote, treated us well, we're supposed to be angry with them or blame them, right? Like we get on this complaint train, as I call it, and
Mm-hmm.
we're just going into this victim role. And we women, we are really been suppressed for so many decades, and we're supposed to hold a certain role and be a certain place, and we don't really have a true voice. And then we're going to look too powerful, we're going to look too aggressive. um
Mm-hmm.
but if we step onto the success train instead and figuring out, what do I want, what do I need in my life? And
Yeah,
you'll be surprised how many women cannot answer that question.
I,
I'm
I,
sure
I
you're not
believe you.
surprised because
But
you talk to a
yeah,
lot of people.
but it's so true. We're so used to being defined by society and just accepting
Yes,
that and going on autopilot and trying to do it all and be everything to everybody. It's exhausting.
absolutely. Yeah. And so when we think we're supposed to do a certain way, or we're not allowed to do certain things because other people are going to judge us, or that's not going to look good, we get further away from ourselves. So that awakening process is really big, and it takes a while to really put things in boxes, like what is mine and what is yours?
Yes.
What stays in my yard, and no peeking over the fence and doing cleaning on the other side of the yard.
Yeah.
It's really a foreign concept for a lot of people. But that's where I do a lot of work with my clients. And when they kind of get to the other side, or they start seeing that momentum, they're stepping onto the love train a lot more than the complaint train, then they're like, oh my gosh, like I feel so free. It's
Yeah.
such a liberating feeling, because it doesn't matter what situation I'm in, Trina. I know what to do
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
because
So
it's
empowering.
because it's right here.
Mhm.
But what do you do? Yes, I knew all the answers were inside of me. I've heard that so many times, but what does that even mean, right? What does that mean? That separation is really huge. Discernment in the moment. What is
Yeah.
mine and what is yours?
Oh, yeah. We
And
get so
then,
lost in those relationships.
right, we lose ourselves.
Mm.
We lose ourselves in relationships, and that is what I work with women on, in relationships or even after relationships. So I got divorced after 12 years. I had lost myself. And when I started the journey back to myself and feeling empowered and feeling self-love and having the people around me that I really wanted, I really started manifesting. The more I
Mm.
visualized what I wanted, the more I felt the circumstances that I wanted, the more it just happened, the more popped into my life. The mentors showed up, the deep relationships showed up, friendships, and I changed as a mother. And
Mhm.
I love the momentum of that, but realized that my marriage could not take me farther.
Mhm.
It had
Mhm.
kind of reached a point where the only way that I could move on my journey was to no longer be in that marriage. I had really done everything I could to better myself and take ownership of what I had to do.
Yeah.
And that was the answer for that, which again led me to another loss.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of women out there who have been through that. It's not easy.
It's not easy to start over and then redefine yourself as who am I if I'm not his wife, right?
Right.
Yeah, but yeah, it does. That's the same thing happened to me. It just reached this point where it's like if I stay here, I'm just stuck and I can't. It's not who I am and who I know I'm becoming. And yeah, so liberating, scary, but so liberating.
So liberating and empowering. And I had done a lot of the work in the marriage.
Mhm.
It's hard to explain maybe to some people, but it's like I almost started manifesting my future in that moment, not even knowing at that point that it was going to come to an end, because that was never in my mind.
Oh, uh-huh. But like
It
your
was not.
growth was leading to it.
Absolutely. I was becoming who I wanted to be. And when I no longer felt that it could go any longer in the marriage,
Yeah.
then I had to continue outside.
Yeah.
So it was not as scary. It was very clear to me
Mhm. Mhm.
where I was, even though I was the first one and the only one around. I didn't know anybody else who had gotten divorced, right? So I
Oh,
had to talk back to a lot of that ego talking to me. Yeah, but
yeah.
Trina, you're a relationship therapist, right? You're like,
Oh.
what are you doing? You can't even save your marriage,
Oh,
right?
whoa.
There was a lot of,
Oh, that
shame and
negative self-talk and
stuff
shame and judging yourself.
coming
Oh,
up.
yeah. Wow.
Absolutely.
Mm.
But I learned so much through what not to do and what to do, that I don't think it's about divorce or not. This is much further than that.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
much further about moving to another country and losing people that you're close to. It's not about that. It's about how you deal with it.
Mhm.
It's about what you take away from it. It's about how you expand as a soul and allow your journey to be yours and not take responsibility for the other person's journey.
Oh, yes.
It's all
Amen.
theirs.
Yeah.
That's really difficult because we care. How
Yes.
how can we care so deeply for other people and not care about what they think about us or not care about how they really feel?
Yeah. By releasing them to their journey too.
Yeah,
I think that's a gift
it's a
that you're
gift.
giving in recognizing this is not going to take either of us any further.
It
Yeah.
really is.
Mm.
And it was hard to learn and hard to let that go.
Mhm.
But it was such a blessing and a liberation, as you're talking about. It became fun to start growing because now I really want to get it right. And that's not even the word for it because there's no right or wrong, but I really started practicing my own alignment and practicing creating the life that I wanted.
Mhm.
Because now there was like the noise and the distractions were gone for a moment at least. But I knew I was going to get into a relationship again because
Mhm. Yeah,
Spirit had told me,
of
and
course.
you just know where you're going. And that happened too.
Oh, good,
And
good.
and another child later, and
Oh,
we're married now, and it's wonderful to experience a relationship in a different way
mhm.
while still working on my own relationship
Yeah.
and
Yeah, and you were
creating that
sorry,
separation.
you were a different person. The person who got married the first
Yeah.
time is not the same person who got married the second time. So
Yes.
your vibration was different, and so you naturally attracted that into your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Mhm.
So they open up a new life for me in terms of, I think, what's possible, but also, yeah, the different things that we attract and the different vibrations of people and where they're at in their journey, different friendships, and then creating a community through my work and creating a community of women who feel the same way, whether divorced or not, but people who want deep, fulfilling, brilliant relationships, people who want to be more.
Yeah.
They know there's more, right? They're kind of
Mhm.
stuck in the routines, and
Yeah.
kids are growing up and they're like, well, now what?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what they're
Exactly.
longing for is really that relationship with themselves, of
Yes.
course.
That's where it starts.
But there's also, again, you're talking about loss, Julie, and I love this, right? We're talking about loss. It's really a loss of our old self
Yes. Yes. And we
in
have to
different
lose that
circumstances.
old self. We have to if we're going to
Right.
grow. And it must be so rewarding to watch your clients take that journey and just know that you help facilitate that. It's just such a beautiful thing. And yeah, that is a loss that I think we have to go through.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And allow ourselves to be different, allow ourselves to step into the unknown, knowing. I was talking to a client today and using this analogy of dreaming about a vacation in Italy and imagining ourselves sitting in Italy with the surroundings. We've seen pictures, and if you haven't been there, we don't quite know what the food tastes like, but we can imagine it, right? And
Mhm,
we can
mhm.
put ourselves there, we can dream about it. But when we finally get there and you sit down, there's no way you can ever experience the same thing as in your head
Right.
unless you get really good at it. We can do a lot with visualization and imagination, yes, but eventually we manifest the things that we focus on and we visualize.
Yeah.
And when we finally sit in Italy and we eat that pizza, and there's all these other experiences all of a sudden come, the people, the locals, the perspective that you gain by actually being there is going to be 10, 20 fold of what you had imagined. But booking a ticket to Italy and investing the money in it. And are you going to do it by yourself? I can't do it by myself, right? Or all
Mhm.
these resistance and excuses that we have to actually have that experience, I think is the same kind of resistance that we go to or go through when we're on that verge of, I need to change things in my life. Like I know I'm stuck and I know I
Mhm.
feel lost and I don't want to wake up and feel like this every day. I don't
Yeah.
want to feel overwhelmed. I
Mm.
don't want to feel anxious. I don't want to feel that I don't have a voice
Yes.
or I
Yes.
have to put everybody else's needs first. And what about, I don't have time for myself. I hear that a lot.
Mhm,
Don't
mhm,
have time for
mhm.
myself. And that can shift, but it requires us to get outside of what's comfortable and what we know is safe and what we handle well. We handle our misery very well.
Yeah, we're used to it. Yeah.
We're used to it. And sometimes it's more comfortable to stay in that known misery than step into the unknown,
Yeah.
blissful life that we don't know yet. Because
Mhm.
it's super scary. Because what if it's not there, Julie?
Mm. Yes.
Like, what
Oh.
is it? What if it's worse than where I'm at right now?
Yeah, and that can just stop you in your tracks, taking
Yeah,
that step. And I like what you said about having a group. When you have a group of people with a shared purpose, you can do anything. And when you're trying to go it alone, you're just up against all that ego, all those voices in your head, and they're strong if you haven't stepped out of that and let that go. So powerful.
absolutely. Yeah, we
Mm.
need to have support. And
Mhm.
that is one thing that I was missing on my journey. First of all, I truly felt wrong in the way I was thinking. Like I thought something was wrong with me in this search for self-love. Like
Mm.
I thought I was like delusional into it, to thinking that it was even possible because part of me knew it was possible. but I really didn't believe, or my body didn't believe that was achievable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's hard when you are surrounded by people that don't speak the same language, that don't have the
Mm-hmm.
vocabulary for self-awareness and for emotional intelligence and for
Yes.
life after death. And so creating a group with like-minded people was such a high priority for me.
Mm,
Uh, I call it
mhm,
time in Tuesdays. You have time into yourself.
mhm.
So timeouts, right?
Yeah.
The regular timeouts that we give our children, usually their children. And when I learned about it, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense,
What
right?
did you call it? Time into
Time in Tuesdays.
time
So you
in
time into
Tuesdays.
yourself. And it came out of the timeouts, because when I learned as a parent that time ins are not, or timeouts for children are not always very conducive, because you're removing them from everybody else, because
Mhm,
they're bad if they've done something wrong and now they need to
mm.
think about it.
Yeah.
And unless you really tell them how to reintegrate themselves again and focus on the wonderful things that they are, and how to focus on and building on their strengths instead of telling them they're wrong,
Mm.
it really creates a lot of shame and isolation and rejection in a child. So I started implementing more positive parenting or conscious parenting. And that led me to learning about parenting myself.
Oh, yeah, so
So
good.
I started using timeouts with myself, right? Okay, I'm a
Mhm.
little overheated. This is not about the kids. I need to regulate myself. So I would
Yeah.
start timing out myself. Now my kids were freaking out. Like,
Oh, no. Mom's in timeout.
Mommy, where'd you go? I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I was like, no worries. I'm just having a moment. I'm just regulating myself. And then I was like, that doesn't have a good ring to it either.
Mhm.
So then I changed it to time ins, because
Brilliant.
at that moment, I have taught so many women and men at that time, families, parents, I've taught them how to tune into themselves when we get out of alignment, right? When we're triggered
Mhm.
by something, big emotions by kids
Yeah,
trigger
yeah.
all us,
Oh,
right?
yes.
And if we don't stop for a moment and help reparent ourselves and have compassion for ourselves in that moment, that's really that time in that we're doing.
Mm. Mhm.
Then we can't be effective as a parent. We can't be effective as a conscious partner,
Yeah.
which is the blueprint that I teach to be a conscious partner.
I like that. Yeah.
It comes from timing in to yourself. And you
Mm.
do that with compassion for yourself and for others. You remove yourself. If you can't be conscious in the moment and in alignment, then you go to the bathroom, buy
Yeah.
yourself some time,
Yes.
and take that time into yourself. So I
Yeah.
created, actually, my partner at that time, Louisa, and I created Time in Tuesdays for women to have that space every Tuesday to time into themselves. These are the women that don't prioritize themselves. They don't have a space to talk about this stuff. And we
Mm.
do it weekly, and they get addicted to it. It feels good because you just keep evolving, because you're with people that celebrate your growth,
Oh,
and you
so
celebrate
so
your
true.
losses because it's expansion.
Yeah. Wow. And where do you do these? Is this like just like a
This is
private group, a
online.
Facebook group? Okay.
This is online. I hold master classes for women who have just gotten divorced.
Mhm,
That's my focus right now. I've done conscious partner, like
mhm,
creating brilliant relationships, but really just from you. It only takes one to break patterns and improve
mm,
stuff
mhm,
and make relationships grow and expand and positive while still being true to yourself.
mm.
But after divorce is really a hard one, and women need a lot of support, and not feeling wrong and not feeling,
Yeah,
now what?
yeah.
So that's really my focus of where I want to give, and I want to give this roadmap to women to gain confidence and power within themselves very quickly by forgiving, healing the past stuff very quickly,
Mhm,
and really focusing on now what? Like, what do you really want? Like,
Yeah.
you can create anything that you want right now. And
So
I love that
powerful.
space. I love
So
that space.
powerful. Oh, I
Yes.
love that too. That's just, and I like that doing it quickly because you don't need to spend years in therapy going over everything that ever happened to you and dwelling there. That's not going to really move you forward. And yeah, and taking action, even just in doing that, is so empowering. And so, if women would like to become a part of this, how where can we find you?
Yeah, so I on youinsideyou.com,
Okay.
I list my master classes. I have time in Tuesdays, the community in there that people can sign up for. So that's probably the quickest way of finding me. And
Wonderful.
yeah.
And I bet a lot of listeners are going to want to find you. Oh, this has been so great. Now, is there anything that I didn't ask you or any parting words that you'd like to leave us with?
Well, I think, Julie, that the one thing that you touched upon in taking action and things don't have to take a long time, I think that was the most expensive lesson that I personally had to learn. And
Mhm.
I have seen that I'm serving women and my clients at a higher level now because I am allowing them to make that commitment and guiding them through, taking them by the hand through steps instead of getting stuck, as you said in the past, our emotions. And we are trained as therapists in ways that are not always very productive. And I believe that action, stepping outside of our comfort zone, allowing ourselves permission to dream and visualize the life we want to become. And if you can have somebody support you through that and give you a blueprint, it, it is just, it's worth it. I would have given a lot to be able to have found the key earlier or quicker through this. And it's not a destination, but it's more this sense of freedom of I enjoy my life so much more every day, even if my life doesn't look perfect, even
Mhm.
if the waves go high and hurricanes come through and my relationship is sometimes in turmoil because life is life.
Yeah.
I still enjoy myself and I still feel free and I still feel empowered to become even more tomorrow.
Mm,
And I
mm.
think that is just the biggest hope and the biggest gift that I can give to anybody listening because
Yes.
I know what it was like not having that. And I
Mhm.
know now what it's like to have that. So if
Mhm.
anybody just wants an ounce of that, just take action today to commit to one thing today that would get yourself out of the comfort zone and just see the ripple effect of you
Oh,
becoming more conscious.
oh, thank you. I love that. And that is like the quintessential hidden gift. You created the
Mm.
very thing that you needed, and you wouldn't have probably been able to do that if you hadn't gone through what you went through. And now look at all the people that benefit. Oh, Trina, this has been so fun. I just loved meeting you, and I love your message, and keep doing what you're doing. It's obviously just going to touch so many people, and it already has. Really beautiful.
Totally. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so,
I really
you're
appreciate being
welcome.
here.
Thank you so much for coming on.